Hey, everyone, it's Sandy Hall, but you probably already know that since you're on the Laughing and Disbelief channel here on YouTube. And you may be asking me, where is Ty Barnett? Where is our guest? I'm glad you asked that because it's an important question. And it was something that needs to be, and now here we go. And it's an important question and it's worth asking. And I have to say that Ty is having some technical issues currently. And so I am just going to talk, maybe interact with Yo Natural. Hey, Ty Barnett.
I'm here.
Bam. How about that?
And so
I am just going to talk, maybe interact. Okay, there you go. We got that all set up.
All right.
Very happy that you're able to make this work.
Oh, my God, dude. I don't know what it is. This is like the second time I was doing a friend of mine's show. And people had the same issue. I should put better lighting on myself, though. This is the downside to living in Los Angeles is that I'm very aware of lighting.
Oh, right.
So,
I am. My girlfriend just got me a ring light the other day, and so that is far better than just being a slave to the natural lighting.
All right, so hold on. I'm gonna plug this in here.
Hello, Catholic Humanist. I hope you're doing well as Yo Natural Atheist. I hope you two are doing well. We had a little bit of technical issues here, but we are working it to make it. Hey, there you go. Look at you.
That's better. Look at that. I got my studio lights. I'm working with those.
Fantastic, dude.
I'll be sweating like a pig after this, though, but that's okay. Quite all right.
Thank you, Phil Lister. Phil is sharing our conversation to a couple of groups. I see, before. Okay. So first I'll start talking. I'll give you a proper introduction because I know that I hate it when people don't give me a proper introduction. So this is Ty Barnett, and I'm going to read part of your bio from your site, comediantybarnett.com. Here it goes. Ty, a Chicago native, got his start at Seattle's Comedy Underground. Since then, his star keeps rising, dedicated to bringing the funny. His shows have been called hilarious by Whoopi Goldberg, thought-provoking, edgy, and have earned him countless TV appearances. As one of the two finalists on the most watched and Emmy-nominated season of Last Comic Standing, Ty has gone on to the Tonight Show appearances. Jay Leno says Ty is one of the funniest comedians working. He's been on, and I'm just going to cut it to the fact that you've worked on a gaggle of projects. People don't think you suck. I don't think you suck.
Thanks.
And welcome. I'm glad that we've been able to surmount these difficulties, these technical issues this morning.
Thank you very much. We figured it out. I'm a little bit better than my mom when it comes to technical issues. So I am feeling better about that. But yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's early in the morning. I thought about this after. First of all, I'm happy to do this, but I always have to remember that we're in different time zones. So when you said 11, I was like, oh yeah, I'll be up. I'll have my oatmeal by that time, and do all that stuff. And then I was like, oh shit, wait, that's 8 o'clock here. So I had to make sure I set 2 alarms. I got up early to make sure I was prepared. That's why when I was having the technical issues, I was like, come on, you gotta be. Yeah, I was prepared for this. So thank you for having me, and thank you for reading that bio. I have to tell people with that bio, I wrote that, and I wrote it because I thought, okay, I have to cover all the bases in bios. And then I realized that the more I've been in this business, they just want to get the bullet points. What shows have you been on? What have we seen you on? So now when I give bios to people, I'm like, just tell them Last Comic, Comedy Central, Tonight Show, whatever. That they don't care about the rest. So even though those quotes are very real. So.
Have people asked you about how many Twitter followers you have?
They have. Are you talking about people in general, or are you talking about business people?
Business people.
Business people, yes, they have. Which is his was crazy to me, and I don't know if I brought it up when you did our show, Critical and Thinking, but I consider myself somewhat of a Jedi in the sense that I've been doing this for so long, and I came from a school of thought that the work speaks for itself, and the work will get you where you need to be, period. That's all you need to do is put in the work, and the rest will work out. So I never really got caught up in the social media thing, even though I kind of wish I did a little bit. I wish I would have got in on it, like when Dan Cook was on MySpace and all that.
Yep.
Because now you see that it does make a difference. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, I could post jokes in well thought out sketches, stuff that I have studio equipment where I put actual shit together, a script, and then you find out that well, how many people do you have following you right now? And it's when you get that from civilians, it's one thing, but when you get it from people who are casting, people who are booking clubs, that's a whole nother thing where you're like, well, wait a minute, don't you want me to be funny first? That should be the thing, right? It's like, I had someone tell me straight up that it's not even really about being funny anymore. I had someone at Comedy Central tell me that it's not about being funny. I'm not. That's a quote.
What is it about? What is it about then?
It's about getting the people who are already watching you to keep watching you, and I understand that from a marketing standpoint. Totally get that from a marketing standpoint, because you want people to watch you. But there used to be this thing where I used to always joke about this. The original bookers for the Tonight Show, Bob and Ross, they used to come to the club. They would come to the club, they would watch you, they would have their notepads out, and they would watch everything you did. And they did that for every person they were thinking about putting on the show. Yep. And they would give you these notes. And over time, the bookers for these shows got younger, they got lazier, so they didn't want to come to the clubs anymore. Just send me a link, just send me something to see. And I'm like, all right, I get the convenience of it, but it's not the same work that you put into it.
Yeah. And
once I started seeing that trend, then I started seeing like, oh, wow, they really don't care about the substance of what you do. Because I'm one of those old school comics that I believe in callbacks, I believe in material, I believe in the words and all that stuff. Whereas I've watched people get on television, and I don't, not to sound like a hater, because I'm not, but I watch these people and I'm like, are you? I remember one person was on the show, and I called my wife and I said, hey, can you just watch this? I don't want to say anything. I want you to watch. And she watched the entire 5.5 minute performance, and her first words were, why did you have me watch this? So again, that specific person had a bunch of followers.
Yep.
So it's I get it again from a marketing standpoint, but the Jedi in me is still like, I thought the work is supposed to speak for itself.
It's difficult. And what we see, at least this is my perspective, as the pandemic continues to roll along, if anything, those trends are just going to get bigger and stronger. You see people on YouTube now or on TikTok, doing work, working the algorithm. They may not have a lot of talent, but they're getting as many eyeballs as possible. So when whatever clubs are left alive at the end of the pandemic, they will be out there trying to get slots and trying to get jobs.
Yeah, well, and it's always use the algorithm thing. I use it with the restaurant analogy, and I say, well, McDonald's, shit, how many billions served? A lot of people. I see 8 McDonald's a day. Every day I see them. The food ain't great. The food is actually bad for you. Right. So it's like that when it comes to these algorithms, where you look at people, and don't get me wrong, if you're good at marketing and you're talented, hey man, you got the gift. That's what's up. That's perfect. But if you're just good at telling people to come out and see you be mediocre or shitty, it hurts the business. And I'm one of those people that, like, I always say, even if I don't like you, if it's funny, it's funny. I know people that I don't like personally, but they're funny.
Oh yeah.
So it's not about a hater thing. It really is about what people don't. I don't think a lot of people understand what goes into someone coming to a comedy show. This is pre-pandemic. Right. We're talking about, you got to get dressed. You got to find a babysitter in some cases if you got kids. You're going out to dinner. You're not going just to the club. You're going to get something to eat, something to drink before you even get to the club. So you got to deal with traffic, bill, money, gas, all that stuff. Then you get to the club. It's a 2-drink minimum, and you got to buy the hot wings or whatever they got. So you spent all of this money before you've even seen one joke.
Yeah.
And if that person that you spent all of this money for, on top of the tickets, is not good, you're not. Yeah, most people would be smart enough to hold it just against that person. But some people, especially nowadays, when people's money is tight, they're like, well, wait a minute. I paid all of this money and you were funny for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And that's a reflection. It ends up being a reflection on the art form in general. It's a reflection on comedy in general, as opposed to it being, hey, Booker, please stop booking these people that cannot hold their own for this time.
And what's different too is that, when you're on social media, you're in this kind of like this safe zone, basically, in some ways, right? You have your own audience, but when you go out to perform, you don't have that same audience. You just have a general public a lot of times. And so what jokes might land for your own people will not do well in different situations. And that's a problem too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think a lot of people, I started in Seattle. So Seattle, I couldn't be Def Jam, cause there's no Def Jam audience there. There was one black club in Seattle, one black club in all of Seattle area. There was one.
What's so funny? I don't want to interrupt, but I was talking to someone. It's like, I was talking to one of my old girlfriends, and I was explaining to her about how, demographically speaking, comedy, there are urban rooms,
right?
And sweet women and everything. Like, she's like, really? It's like, yes, really.
Yeah. And I used to joke about it because every week I would prepare a set for the club. There was the one black club, and then there was every other mainstream club. And my list for the mainstream club was this long. Like, I had a bunch of stuff I could talk about. And then with the black club, it was like just 3 or 4 topics that I could talk about that, So I couldn't be Def Jam. Like, I had to learn how to tell jokes to a broad audience because there were still black people coming to the mainstream shows.
Sure.
So I had to learn how to write, because people are always like, man, I mean, you write, but you're not dirty when you write, and you're still funny. I'm like, because that's how I had to come up. Like, I had to come up around people that were just getting jokes just off solid wording. And I'm a wordsmith when it comes to that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I think my ability to be able to tell these jokes to these different audiences helped by starting in Seattle, because even when I started there, I was one of those people that was like, okay, now I know how to tell jokes in Seattle. Now I want to go somewhere else. Now let me go tell jokes in Cleveland. I actually dropped out of a comedy competition to go do a gig in Cleveland to open for George Wallace. Because I was like, man, I've never performed outside of Washington State. So let me go do this. And people thought I was stupid. It's like, man, you should stay here and finish the competition. You can win. And I'm like, man, but I'm not trying to just do comedy in Seattle. Yeah, I'm trying to do something else. So I've always, and one of the main idol I have is Richard Pryor, and what I always loved about him is that his audiences were so broad. Yeah, there's so many different types of people in his audiences. So I've kind of honed my skill set to be able to go and make multiple people laugh. So when I see people that, I remember a booker telling me, is like, man, you just got to find your niche. And I'm like, my niche is that I'm funny. That's the niche. Right. That I'm funny. Let me put me in front of the people. So yeah, it's a trip that people don't think about that, and they don't think about when you go to different places that you have to be, some jokes work well in an area. Like if you live in California and you make jokes about the 405, yeah, they probably kill because the 405 is shitty in Los Angeles. Yeah. But when you go to Texas, what's that gonna do?
Yeah, I've talked to a bunch of directors, on this channel, interviewed some directors, some, other artists. And one of the common threads is thinking about marketing before you create your art.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very discouraging.
Yeah. And because I never had to think about that. To be honest with you, I never did. That's why I go back to that bio. That bio is very much so written from a standpoint of how do I hit the points that people tell me I'm supposed to hit in a bio.
Yeah.
As opposed to just saying, hey man, I've been blessed in a lot of different ways to be on these shows. Come see the show now. You know what I'm saying? That's really what I would like to say. It's like, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You saw me on this, and this. But I have to write it in a way to where people are like, oh, wow, his star keeps rising. Oh, wow. You know, he got quoted from Jay Leno and Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, that's great. Because, you know, those are the things that some people do care about. Whereas, you know, for me, I'm like, once I get in the room, once I get on stage, people will forget about the Whoopi Goldberg comment. They'll forget about the Jay Leno thing. They'll forget about Life in Pieces, the TV shows, and anything like that. They want to know, are you funny right now? Yeah. So it's hard for me sometimes to still, you know, I have to have those two brains to be like, okay, today I'm just going to work on marketing. And it's weird because the only good thing about working on marketing is that I can have music playing in the background.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? Where I'm like, oh, okay, let me design this poster and it won't distract me to have music playing in the background. Whereas when I'm writing, I no sounds. I need because I get distracted. You know what I'm saying? So it takes a different mindset, but it is something that I had to be more aware of in the latter part, as opposed to the, you know, because at the beginning the clubs did all of this.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All of the marketing. As a matter of fact, they would be like, okay, your gig starts on Friday. We're flying you in Thursday to do radio. We already have it set up. Here's your information. Bop, 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 bop. And now it's like I had a club ask me, it's like, hey, are you able to get on the radio here? And I'm like, are you asking me if I can get on the radio in your city? Like, I don't live there. I don't know anyone that is on the radio there. So it's weird to have to do this. But if I had to say something, a silver lining in it is that I did learn how to do certain things. Like I learned how to edit. I learned how to use Photoshop. I learned all of these different things that I never had to do before, and that I would rely on other people to do. You know, like
you know, that's the thing from what I've discovered is that from once again talking with people is that a lot of artists who take the Louis C.K. route, and no, not the whole the wanking thing, but about being good at filming.
You know, I'm good from here. I got on clothes.
Very good. I'm happy. Hands up, right? But not in that police way. But not in that kind of masturbatory kind of way.
We don't want another Jeffrey Toobin and Louis C.K. thing.
Right. But you know, Louis C.K. he basically practiced everything or learned everything from editing to directing to acting, and then he's funny on top of that. Right. Or he's funny and then learned all those other things. And there's a real pressure on comedians to be able to master all of those skills.
It is, but you know what the good thing about it is frustrating in some ways, but it is good when you actually know how to do it. I used to have actually two friends. A friend of mine in Seattle was one of the first people that I used to watch him edit on Final Cut, and he would do all these things with the buttons, and I'd be like, man, how the fuck are you doing all this stuff? And then Ian actually edited my first promo reel. And when he did it, I was like, damn, dude, how do you know all of this stuff? So I sat down with him one day and just started watching him do the process. And so even then it was still confusing. And then one summer, like work was really slow. Like there was no road work or anything. It was, man, I had this, let's just say I had a lot of time. Of time. And so I said, you know what? I got all this stuff on this computer and I had all these programs in my computer already, and I didn't even know what they were. And this is even a little bit before YouTube, because I mean, now you can find out everything on YouTube. YouTube is the best is better than customer service. I called customer service for something the other day and they said, check YouTube. That's how good YouTube is. So
I have a problem with my car and I YouTube it.
It's exactly. I'm telling you, it's amazing. So what I did that summer, with the spare time I had was I said, okay, let me just sit down and really learn these things. Trial and error, frustration. But the more I learned how to do stuff, oh my God, bro, it was like, man, I wish I would have done this years ago. Because now when I'm booked for something, I can automatically come to my computer and be like, bam, pop, 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 pop. Here's the information. Here's the flyer. Here's the poster. Here's the link. Here's the video I edited. It looks exactly like I wanted. And it is, although it was frustrating to learn this stuff, it was a necessary thing to do. And I actually am glad that I know how to do it now.
That's great. That's fantastic. You know, we've been talking for about 20 minutes and we haven't even talked about people still sitting on the fence in terms of the election.
Oh, bro, did you watch the debate last night?
Yeah, I saw. This is what I did last night. I was on a YouTube show from 8 to 9. I got off the show really fast, went downstairs, saw the debate, you know, and then after that, I saw the new Borat movie after that. So
it came out today, right?
It came, it came out at 5. It came out at midnight on GMT time. So that was like 8 o'clock here on the East Coast. It dropped on 8 p.m. on the East Coast here. I think I started watching it around 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And we're definitely watching
because we're gonna watch it today. We're gonna watch it today, and I actually posted something about this because I saw a couple of people's comments and they said, well, you know, Biden looked slow and weak or whatever. First of all, the dude has a stutter.
Oh yeah.
The fact people keep acting like that's not a thing is weird. Secondly, this is the question I've posed to people this morning on Facebook. Is I clearly heard Biden's stance on healthcare. I heard his stance on a livable minimum wage. I heard his plan for getting us out of the pandemic. I heard his plans for reopening the country safely. I heard all of it. I got it on tape. I can go watch it right now and lay it out for everybody. Right. So the question I've been posing to people is, what was Trump's? Tell me, he talked loud and fast. He did a lot of that. Yeah. Tell me what his stance was. And no one has been able to tell me anything. And then one person's comment was, well, Biden didn't do what most comedians should do, is play to the room. He's not a fucking comedian. He's not a comedian. Let me tell you, at this point, bro, it's on us. At this point, it is on us as American citizens. They're not running for a comedy special. They're running. This is bananas to me. Why do you expect this dude to be like the dude in the bar? This dude is supposed to know shit about the country and help get the country back on track. Now, by the way, this dude is coming out here and still lying, by the way, Trump.
Oh yeah, totally.
And the fact that people are more concerned about the stutter than the fucking lie. Yeah. The lies. That's bananas to me. So I hate saying this, but I have to say it. Trump is what America deserves, bro. Trump is what America. The fact that people could care less. Now, by the way, dude, we're still wearing masks. We're still wearing masks now. We still don't. And when I see entertainers do it, bro, exactly. When I see entertainers falling for the bullshit, I'm like, because I'm going to post something later on today and I'm going to direct it specifically to the entertainers. I'm like, to any of you entertainers that are sitting there talking about how bad Biden looked, enjoy your Zoom shows. Enjoy your fucking Zoom shows. Because that's where we are now. Because we can't reopen the fucking country. This dude literally came out and said, if you vote for Biden, he'll listen to the scientists. Do you fucking understand how goofy that sounds? That's like saying, hey, man, if you trust this dude with a culinary degree, he's going to make you a good meal. What the fuck? This is bananas to me. I am honestly at a point where, like, I'm kind of tired of caring, but I know that I have to care. And I don't know what's going to happen 10 days from now, 12 days from now, but I got to go hard for the next 10 days. And then after that, I don't know, bro, because like I said, if you're still on the fence at this point, it's really you.
Do you think that most people who are on the fence right now are just voting for Trump and they just don't want to admit it to themselves?
Oh, most definitely. It's most definitely, if you are undecided, you are a Trump supporter. Period.
Yeah.
You can rationalize it any. And the first thing I started when I watched the debate last night, the first thing I said, because this is directed towards black folks because they seem to be really focused on this 94 crime bill. I said it's amazing that black people are still more focused on the crime bill than the dude who's currently suing to take their health care. This is crazy to me because, again, people make mistakes. It happens. He actually acknowledged before last night, he acknowledged that the crime bill was a mistake, even though, and I'm saying this as a black person that grew up in the 90s and knew how bad the streets were, knew how bad it was when crack was running around. New Jack City, if you watch New Jack City, you should understand how bad shit was. You didn't want to be around Nino Brown. You wanted Nino Brown gone, you know? So now you got people that are advocating like, man, I can't believe he did this. See how he put Nino Brown in jail? This is how shitty we are now. So I honestly have to look at Trump is only doing what people are allowing him to do, because you don't go up there with that bravado in a pandemic that you lied about and that people are still suffering about. Like there was one part of the debate where he says, Joe Biden says, well, what he wants to do is he wants to distract. He wants to talk about my family because he doesn't want to talk about your family. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Andrew. Here's what's crazy. In a regular world, that comment right there will pull on the heartstrings.
Yeah.
Pull on the heartstrings. Oh, man, you're right, Joe. We shouldn't be talking about either one of you. We should be talking about my family, man. We should be talking about the loved ones here. The world we're in now, motherfuckers are like, yeah, man, why are you talking about everybody else's family? You should be talking about each other's family. What? He is trying to tell you that this dude is trying to distract you from his fuck up right now. And again, could you, and again, Obama, when he spoke, said the same thing. Could you imagine if Obama said we got to learn to live with Ebola?
Yeah.
H1N1? Okay, so come on.
It would have been crazy. Let's see. Cat from the tons of mice from the chat thinks we'll be wearing masks from a year from now. Who knows? Maybe we will. I know that I am more likely to be very conservative about my health, because of the virus. And Cat the Humanist says Trump knows he doesn't have to have plans. He just has to spew out garbage. Yeah. That's all Trump has to do, and be confident while spewing out the garbage.
And that is, and again, that right there, to both of those comments are reflections on us as a society, because there is no way, bro. You don't get caught on tape admitting that you're lying about a pandemic that has killed. It's not hurt. It's killed 220,000 people. Now it's not like this is a thing of the past. Right. And then it was just like, oh man, that was a rough year. We're still in it 8 months later. We're in it in an election year right now. And you're telling me that you're more worried about the dude that has a stutter, but is giving you facts. He's giving you details of how to get through this. He laid out his plan last night. And I'm watching comments from people like, man, he just looks slow. Let me tell you something. I'd rather take the slow dude than the liar any fucking day, any day. Yeah. And this is what I mean by like, Trump is only doing what the American people are letting him do. And this is why I say it comes back on us. And maybe, like I said, he is what America deserves, because they don't seem to want better.
Yeah. It's disturbing. It's disquieting. And there are definitely times that I think, well, this is just like a biblical curse. Speaking as an atheist, of course, this is just a biblical curse because we deserve it. This is the reaping of our own stupidity for all intents and purposes.
It really is, dude. And we have to, at some point, and I was telling somebody this the other day, like I didn't really get into politics until about maybe 12 years ago, something like that. And I kind of wish I still wasn't in politics. I kind of do, because I totally understand the term now, ignorance is bliss. And because the anger and frustration and sadness that I feel on a regular basis is heavy.
Yeah.
Because if we were in a mind state of, okay, you guys, listen, it's 4 years now. We see what this dude is about. He is showing you exactly what he is. Let's just get rid of him. We'll start over. Enough with the reality show president experiment. We did it. Let's move on. If we were there, I'd be in a better place. The majority. If we were there, I'd be in a better place. Like, okay, well, all right, now we just got to reset. But the fact that people today, dude, are still looking at this dude and having a hard time understanding that he should not be in charge of anything is scary. And Ian always gets on me about this when I say I don't think everybody should have the right to vote. Now, I don't. I because listen, bro, it is. And we were actually going over the what do you call them? The propositions yesterday. And one of the propositions were if felons, once they serve their time, should they be able to vote? And I said this actually about a year ago. I'd rather have an educated felon who knew exactly what was going on have the right to vote as opposed to an idiot that has never committed a crime. Because it's more dangerous to me when you can watch those two people speak last night and you take away from that, they're like, I don't know. The dude, he lied so much that you couldn't keep track of the lie.
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? And you know this trick, right? Being a rhetorician, being able to speak. If the more you spew out, the less likely it is for people to be able to think critically about what you're saying.
Right. Oh, yeah. That is true. And me and my brother got in this discussion a while ago because a lot of people like to blame the media, and they say the media is doing all of this. First of all, I'm an adult. I've been an adult for a long time, and I'm proud of being an adult. Yeah. And on top of being an adult, I work in a business where words matter. So I have to research stuff, even if it's just for a joke. I really do have to look at this stuff.
I cannot tell you how much I research for my crappy jokes. I will write them down in the middle of a show. I was on a show last night and I had to do like a bunch of like philosophical jokes on the fly. And I'm like, does this joke make sense as I'm talking to them? And there's a lot of research to be done to do smart humor.
But the fact that that's a necessity is what helps you be better at what you do. And the fact that people don't take pride in that type of stuff, even for themselves, like as I'm watching this dude speak, and he says, well, he called black people super predators. He's repeated this lie, by the way. He did it in the first debate, and it's not true. It is a blatant lie. It's a blatant lie. Now, it's so blatant that you can look on your phone, you can look on your devices. You can look on your devices at your fingertips, and you can see that it's not true. He repeated it 4 times last night. And I'm like, okay, at this point, it's on you guys. Either you're going to believe the dude who is recorded as lying 20,000 plus times, or you can research for yourself and see what's true and what's not true.
Yep.
So when I see people not wanting to do that, again, it comes back to it's you. It falls on you. You want this to be true because it makes you feel better to support this monster.
It's completely motivated thinking. That's what it is. I was thinking about this the other day about how comedians speak, because when we speak, we want people to understand what we're telling them, right?
Yeah.
We want them to understand the setup and the punchline. Trump, he does not want you to understand what he's saying, and that's why he just spews and spews and spews.
Yeah, and he does it, and when he does this, dude, I honestly, as I'm watching this last night, and I said, man, you know what? I bet you people are looking at how he's speaking and thinking that he's winning, just because of how he's speaking, not because of what he's saying, but how he's saying it. And I said, if you really are going by that as opposed to the substance of what's being said, then again, you're a horrible person. That there is no other way around. And people can keep acting like that's not what it is, but it comes down to you being a horrible person. Because right now, these are the facts. Only one of those two people speaking last night lied about the pandemic. Only one of those two people speaking has foreign interests in money. Like right now he has foreign interests. Right the fuck now he has foreign interests. Only one of those two people has one of the most corrupt administrations in American history. Only one of those two people still doesn't have a healthcare plan right now. 4 years in, bro. 4 years in, does not have a healthcare plan. He was asked 4 or 5 times last night, has no healthcare plan. Only one of those two people doesn't believe in the $15 minimum wage. Only one of those two people is sitting here with the full support of every hate group in America. Yeah. Only one of those two people has lied and lied and lied. Only one of those two people. And you're telling me you walked away from that fucking debate thinking that, I'm not sure yet. So, bro, it's really, it's disheartening on a lot of levels. And there is a part of me that is starting to just give in to the fact that, hey, maybe this is just what it is. Because I've been going in on Black people a lot lately because
that must be winning you a lot of friends.
Well, you know what? I have gotten some pushback from people, but I never, the thing that I do when I debate anybody, when I speak on anything, is I always speak from a standpoint of facts. And if you have any issue with the facts, then we can debate it. But what I won't do is I'm not going to go on the back and forth off of opinions. We're not doing that because it's too many people's opinions that are fucked up things to where we are now. So when I go with Black people, I say, listen, I understand if you're upset about the 94 crime bill, but if you weren't selling crack, you shouldn't have been affected by the 94 crime bill. I wasn't selling crack. I wasn't affected by the 94 crime bill. I was affected because the streets got safer. There you go. Now, you can say that the harsher sentencing was an issue, and he addressed that. But you also need to look at the fact that a lot of Black people voted for that. A lot of Black people voted for that crime bill. And also, we're talking about right now, Trump is trying to take away your ability to vote. Now, yes. Trump is supported by the police that you say, as Black people, you want to hold accountable. Trump is supported by those people and they're supporting him. The dude in New York, the police chief in New York, came out and said, we're supporting Trump because he's a strong voice for us. And that dude only said that because he knows Trump will not hold them accountable for anything, as opposed to what Biden and them are proposing with the body cam. I had someone say that Kamala Harris is against body cams. And I'm like, that's not fucking true. Yep. Now, when I said this to him, and here's what I mean by it being the people, bro. I said, hey, man, I saw what you posted about Kamala Harris being against body cams. I said, that's not true. And he's like, oh. And I said, so you're going to take it down, right? He's like, no. And I was like, oh, okay, then you're no different than Trump supporters then. And he got pissed at me for that. And he's like, what the fuck do you mean? I said, because that's what Trump supporters do. They make up shit. Then when you call them on the shit, they just leave it there. So you're no different. So at this point, bro, we really have to examine what kind of country we want to be going forward. And if we aren't honest about that, it's going to be more of this.
What I try to do with my kids, I have an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I've been doing this since I think they were very, very young, is that when we are engaged in watching TV, watching the news or whatever, I would just bring up the fallacies, the problems, or the tricks, the cheap Jedi tricks, the cheap, or maybe Sith tricks that people are doing in terms of politicians, like what I would call word fucking you, so that they can just roll over the other person in the debate. And I think it's important for parents to consistently have those kind of conversations so that their kids become somewhat immune to these stupid sleight of hand tricks that politicians do.
It is very important. And I feel bad sometimes. Somebody asked me yesterday, because I told them, I said, I didn't really get into politics until really right around Obama. And they called me on it because they know how much I'm into politics now. And they said, so the civil rights movement, the Freedom Riders, that wasn't a thing, and I had to be like, oh shit, you're right. I probably should have been paying attention a lot sooner, which is true. Like I should have seen, which I did see it, but I'm talking about like in my head, they all seem like the same white guy back in the day. They all just seem like the same white guy.
Well, we do have a lot of guys my age.
Yeah,
look like me, you know.
Exactly. So I had to own that and say that, yeah, I probably should have been paying attention at a younger age, which is why I'm so adamant now about getting young people to weed through that speak that you're talking about, that Sith speak, because these politicians, like yesterday I was watching something on MSNBC, and they were talking to two types of groups of undecided voters, and it was 3 black women and 1 white woman that were still undecided. And honestly, I was like, wait a minute, so there's 3 black women that are still undecided at this point. So exactly, that's the same kind of look I gave. But here's what's crazy about it. So they asked them why they were still undecided, and the first thing the black woman said, the younger, she had to be in her 30s, probably late 20s, 30s, and the first thing she says is, well, I'm upset about the crime bill, because that seems to be the narrative, the crime bill. Like, I'm upset about the crime bill, and he never even said he was sorry for it. Here's what's shitty about that. As soon as she said this, I Googled. I use my thumbs and my phone with the internet on it, on the phone, and I Googled Biden apologizes for crime bill, and a page of stuff came up about him acknowledging that it was a mistake. And so I immediately tweeted the host of the show on MSNBC, and I said, listen, I'm a huge fan of the show, I'm a huge fan of the network, but I have to call you out on what you just did. You let millions of people see that someone believes that he did not apologize for something that he did. And I said, that's part of the problem. You have to call these things out. He did acknowledge that this was an issue. And if that was those 3 women's issue with Biden and being undecided still, you should clear this up with them and say, yes, he did apologize for that.
And you're right about that. You have to be good in the pocket, right? So when someone says something, this is my backup, right? And when someone says something like that really sounds crazy, my response instinctually is like, how do you know that? Mm-hmm. Where did you hear that? And then that'll give me a chance to kind of like formulate an argument, or at least to start Googling.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of people don't know where they hear their information. It's just out there.
Yeah.
Or they'll say something like, I saw it on Facebook. And it's like, you saw it on Facebook. You don't get all of your news from Facebook, do you?
Yes, they do.
Because that's a horrible thing. That's a horrible thing.
They absolutely do get all of their news from memes. They get all of their news from memes. And you have to, and it's daunting. I'm not gonna lie, it's daunting to sit there and try to figure out what's true and what's not. That I get it. But the good thing about this is that the information is there for you to actually see if you look for it.
Yes.
Now we aren't even talking about back in the days of the Pony Express, where someone had to give the message to the dude and they had to get on the horse. You didn't get the message for like 4 or 5 days or some shit.
Sure.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about, you can look right now whether something is true right now. And if you don't want to do that, then you just want to believe what makes you feel better about your choices. And that's a human issue. That's not a human issue. That's a human issue. So when I watched this debate last night, I'm like, I'm looking at it from like, okay, well, yep, everything he's saying is true. It's all factual. Yep, you can look at all this stuff up. And then Trump will come right back in and just say the lie again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute. He's so confident in the lie that the people, 1, are going to forget that he's a liar.
Yeah.
2, they're going to be okay with the lie because he's confident in the lie. And that would be, it's never okay, but it would be a different situation if the lie was say, well, I'm not going to raise taxes. That's a lie that politicians tell all the time. But the lie that he tells when he says it's going to go away, you don't care about that? You don't care about the lie that he's going to protect your health care?
Yeah.
You don't care about the lie at all that foreign interference is still fucking with the election and the democracy right now. You don't care about those lies? So when you see people letting those things go, it tells me that person is either willfully ignorant or they're okay with how things are because they don't think things are going to affect them personally.
Yeah.
I had a former friend of mine say, this is within the last couple of days, he said he posted something. He says, I wonder what do you think has hurt black people more, Trump or Biden's 94 crime bill? And I said, okay, well then which
my
black
first response would be systemic racism, which is championed by Donald J. Trump. That's what I would say right there.
Ding, 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 ding. So I say to him, I said, wait a minute, which black people are you talking about? Are you talking about the black people he discriminated against for his housing? Are you talking about the black people he discriminated against for jobs? Are you talking about the Central Park Five, who he called for the death penalty for, and their parents, their friends and family, those people? Are you talking about the millions of black people infected with COVID? Are you talking about the 200,000+ people where black people are significantly higher dying from COVID? Which black people are you talking about? And I got no answer. And then he got mad at me when I said, okay, listen, man. So I tell you what's your plan? Give me your plan. Tell me your plan by shitting on Joe Biden and giving Trump a chance to win again.
Yeah.
Give me your plan. And he got mad at that. He says, that's a messed up question. Wait, it's a messed up question to ask you what your plan is going forward for the next 4 years. Minimum, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum. Because I'm telling you right now, if this dude gets another 4 years, he ain't leaving until he's ready to leave.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. It is clear that he wants to stay on to power as long as humanly possible.
Yeah, most definitely.
I have to talk about Richard Pryor for a minute because I just saw the Hulu special, the Hulu documentary "Admit the Logic."
Oh my! You just saw it? Oh wow!
I just saw it yesterday, dude. And as soon as I saw the poster in the background, it's like, well, we're gonna have to talk about Richard Pryor for a couple of minutes at least.
Dude, he's the thing. Like, we actually went to a flea market the other day and we bought like a little another Richard Pryor picture. My wife doesn't like to let me have Pryor in the bedroom or anywhere. Like I used to have this huge. This is not this one. This one. It's one over here you can't see, and it was in the bedroom. And she was just like, I just don't like waking up and seeing that face in the morning like that.
I had a buddy who had the same problem, except it was with Bill Murray, his girlfriend. You can't have Bill in the bedroom. I'm sorry.
And so I said, okay. Now I'm not gonna lie. Early on, when we first started dating, I said, you know what? I am putting my foot down. I am a comedian. You know what this dude means to me. No. And then as our relationship evolved and blah, 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 I said, okay, I can move Pryor out of the bedroom. I'll bring it into the studio / other bedroom here. So it's fine. But here's the thing. When I watched that special, dude, this man, bro, has so many demons, bro, in a background that most people would have caved under. Yeah. But he took all of that and thrived in it and made us laugh at it and laugh with it. And that's one of the reasons why, like I said, he's one of the people he's the GOAT. And when I say the GOAT, people are like, oh, well, you think he's saying he's the funniest. I'm saying this dude influence wise, and I'm talking about how this dude made his mark on this business. And when you watch that special, when you watch that documentary, like some stuff I didn't know. Like I didn't know he had so many wives. I didn't know that he had this personality of once he achieved something, it just seemed like, oh, okay, I'm good. Yeah. And the performer in me kind of was like, it makes sense. It makes sense when you achieve something, because but let me ask you this: when you watched, did you walk away from it with what was the new thing you took away from watching of Pryor, your perception of him?
I had a deeper empathy for the man. I knew about how he grew up, but really when I watched the documentary, it really unfolded in front of me. And so, yeah, my empathy for Richard Pryor and respect for how he bucked the system as much as he could.
Yeah.
And how he got screwed by the system and how he bucked it and wanted to do things his way as an artist. And you hear echoes of Dave Chappelle, right? Doing like, I'm doing the thing my way. And so that's what I'm doing, whether you like it or not. So there are echoes. Those are the things that I thought about after watching the special. Yeah. It was very fortuitous that we talked today, the day after I watched it.
Oh my God, dude. I've watched it 2 or 3 times. And I actually still have it on the DVR. I refuse to delete it. Whenever I'm just in a mood, I watch it just to give myself a recharge. And that's the same thing I got from it too. When he had a show on NBC, and they're trying to tell him, like most people, especially nowadays, if they give you a TV show on a major network, most people are like, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Just as long as you let me keep the show, whatever. I need the followers, I need the likes, I need all that. I need to be, whereas Pryor was like, look, man, you picked me for a reason. Yeah. You gave me this platform for a reason. Let me keep doing this the way I'm doing, and I promise you it'll work out. And same thing with Chappelle. Because if you look at the first season 1.5 of Chappelle's show, it's still some of the funniest shit that's to ever air.
Yeah.
And then when they tried to come in and change all of this stuff, then you started seeing him saying, well, wait a minute, that's not what got me here. That's not what made the show what it is. And so when you watch Pryor, his evolution, because now the only thing that I go back and forth about was the Blazing Saddles thing.
The Blazing Saddles, for people who don't, I mean, I knew the story beforehand, but please retell the story for those watching who don't know the Blazing Saddles story.
Oh my God, dude. The fact, so him and Mel Brooks co-wrote Blazing Saddles. And Mel Brooks fought hard. He said, "This is I want Pryor to play the sheriff. I want Pryor to play the main character." And Pryor had some issues, and studios didn't think that he was reliable. They thought he was a high risk, and they wouldn't insure him and all that. So they basically told Mel Brooks that you can make the movie, but you can't make the movie with him as the lead. So he still gets a writing credit, of course. Yeah. But he's not in the movie. And so now this is to not take anything away from the late and great Cleavon Little, because it's such a weird place, because I couldn't imagine Blazing Saddles without Cleavon Little. But I'm also like, man, what would that have been with Pryor, bro?
It would have been crazier. Hard to believe, but it would have been crazier.
Oh my God, yes. So I didn't want to take anything away from Cleavon, but there's a part of me that's always going to be like, man, Pryor would have done this with this, because the charisma of Cleavon is what helps that movie. It's still a great movie, still a classic, awesome. It's flawless. But Pryor, when you look at what he brought to everything that he did, every role that he played, everything that he touched, you're like, that would have been amazing to see his take on these things, especially because he wrote these words. So I honestly, when I think about it, and I wonder how like some of these studio heads felt afterwards when they say, man, I wonder if we kind of should have done this, because then you look at the chemistry with him and Gene Wilder and Stir Crazy, and even when he first came on the scene in Silver Street, he was on before that, but him and Gene Wilder in Silver Street, you see that this dude was so talented in so many different ways. And when they allowed him in Lady Sings the Blues, they said, man, do you?
Yeah.
We'll keep go ahead, play the part, improv. And this is what I mean by when someone is just unadulteratedly talented. And when you watch him do that, it's amazing. I met him one time.
Oh, really? Huh? Okay. Tell me about that.
Oh my God, dude. It was this is before I was living here. I was still living in Seattle, and me and my friend, we won this comedy competition in Seattle, and the prize was to come to the American Comedy Awards that they were having in Los Angeles. They have never had them since, by the way. And so the trip was all expense paid. You get to go to the comedy awards, all that stuff. And so we get to the thing, right? It's over by Universal Studios.
Yep.
We get there, and in the room, all these celebrities, bro. I'm like, I have never seen this many people. And I'm talking about, mind you, bro, I still live in Seattle. I am not fully exposed to the Hollywood experience. And the fact that I'm in the same room with these people is whoa, right? And I remember Jamie Lee Curtis was fixing my friend's tie. Like she was adjusting this tie, and I'm off to the side, like, that's fucking Jamie Lee Curtis, bro. She's fixing your tie. And I look off over to the side, and in the wheelchair is Richard Pryor, bro. Just like in the movie, there was nobody else in the room. At that moment, there was nobody else in the room. And I can't believe that I did this, but I said, hey, man, I'll be right back. I had walked away from Jamie Lee Curtis to go over here, made a beeline for Pryor. And the first thing I said was, I said, sir, I just want you to know, I mean, I'm fumbling over my words. I'm a huge fan, dude. It just, you're the reason why I do the thing. You're the guy. And he could not respond. He could not respond. This is the MS had really taken over. He literally couldn't respond. And his wife, Linda, was there. And she said, he really appreciates everything you said. He hears you. He can't reply, but I believe me, he appreciates everything you just said. And dude, it was such a bittersweet memory because I know as a stand-up that I'm vocal. I'm adamant when I talk sometimes. You know, I use my hands and my facial expressions, and you know how we do. It's a lot of stuff that goes into the joke process. And to see this dude that has so much up here, not be able to do it that way, I walked away from it still feeling like, man, I met my idol. But there was another part of me that felt like, man, that's got to be horrible for him. That's got to be horrible for him to not be able to do this. So when he passed, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit relieved.
Sure.
Because I was like, he's not suffering anymore. That had to have been torture for him to not be able to express himself. So when he passed, it really was like it's sad to hear, but at least he's in a better situation than he was those last, years.
You know, what was nice, and I don't use the word nice a whole lot. What was good is that maybe, you gave him a little bit of pleasure. Maybe, you were light for, a few minutes while you were gushing praise on him,
Fanboying out to the max, bro. And so that's why I said, like, I still hold him in such a high regard, not just because of his stand-up, but because of his appeal, his broad appeal. So when I perform, I channel that because I like making everybody laugh. Like I love, I love going to a city that I've never been to before, or even one that I've been to, and seeing faces that don't look like me laughing with me in my thoughts. So when I saw his ability, I kid you not, bro, that was one of the first things watching him perform, and they would flash to the audience and you see all these different people. And I was like, man, look at that. Look at how they're digging him, So that's why I still hold him in the highest regard in general.
Yeah. So everyone in the chat, if you get a chance to see on Hulu, if you have Hulu, Omit the Logic, it's definitely worth your time. Story there. Yeah. Powerful stuff. Ty. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I was going to say they're making a movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And the last I checked, the last two people that were in the running were Mike Epps and Marlon Wayans. Those are the last people I heard were in the running to play him. So, which both, I mean, Marlon is actually, of the Wayans brothers, he is the best actor of the Wayans. And Mike Epps does a really good Pryor. So I think either way it go is going to be something worth seeing,
Definitely. So we're coming down to the end of an hour. Ty, is there a question you wanted me to ask you that I didn't get around to? This isn't about plugs or where people can find you online, but was there a topic you wanted to touch on, but we just didn't get around to it?
I have to I told you I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna go hard for the next 10 days, and it's gonna be I'm going down swinging. And I just have to say this. It's not really a question, but I just have to say this to people. There used to be a time where facts mattered. There used to be a time where people had more empathy than I don't even know if that even exists anymore. And it used to be where people wanted the country to really be united. Somebody said back in the day, they said, man, it's crazy that on September 11th, the entire country mourned the death of everyone that was killed in the towers. And said it's amazing that in 2020, over 200,000 people are dead and 40% of the country literally doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And we will not get back to where we need to be or even get better with the situation that we have now. And if you don't believe that, the fact that we're still here under the current administration. This is not Joe Biden's doing. This is not Hillary Clinton's doing. This is not Obama's doing. This is the default of one dude and one administration. And also I have to lay some blame on Fox News as well, because they have lied to people so much. So if I can leave you guys with any thought is this. Understand you can keep thinking that it won't affect you, but tell that to the 200,000 people that are dead. Tell that to the millions of people infected. Tell that to the people who have lost their lives, their livelihoods, their homes, their jobs, all of this because of what is going on right now. You have a chance to change this. You have a chance to make it better. You have a chance to change the course of where we are right now. November 3rd, this is it. And Obama said it perfectly. This is the most important election in American history.
Yeah.
And what you choose to do with your vote will decide what you want to be as a country and what you want to be as human beings. That's it.
All right. Hey, Ty, it's been an incredible conversation. Thanks for coming on the show. Where can people find you online, sir?
Comedy Central. Oh, sorry, Comedy Central. But you could have stuff on there too. But the website is comediantybarnett.com, which has links to all the different social media platforms. I always joke and tell people that if you want just jokes, go to comediantybarnett.com or Instagram. If you want Chuck D and Malcolm X, go to Facebook. So
that's a good way of framing it. Everyone in the chat, thanks for showing up. Thanks for contributing. This has been a great show. I'm going to hit the end broadcast button right now, and it's going to be a live mic for